So today we are talking with Nancy Banner on People on the Grid. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, Katrina.
Nancy is a empowering coach specifically for women and has a program called Unleash Your Inner Rock Star. So Nancy, tell us about, basically, why is it so important to unleash your inner rock star, and how have you discovered it yourself?
Well, I believe it's important because I believe that inner rock star, whatever it is for you, for me, it actually is a rock star persona, but it's going to be different for each individual. But I believe that once we're in touch with that, connected with it, and living it out in the world, we are living our best life, and we are bringing to the world what the world is waiting for from us. I really believe we each came here with a mission. And for me, it's been getting in touch with this inner persona, basically my soul's calling to unleash her in the world is what I came here to do. And I think that's true for everyone, regardless of what the persona is. So the world needs us.
Yes, it's discovering your purpose in life. But everybody discovers it at a different time.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, for you, being the rock star, how did that influence? Is that from your, growing up in America, in particular, or?
Well, perhaps. I had a really idyllic upbringing, very privileged. I idolized my dad, he was open-minded, but he was also really focused on success and how we should behave and what we should become and so on. And I really, because I loved him and idolized him so much, I tried very hard to follow his teaching, but I kept
veering off.
Yeah, veering off severely. With these really rebellious tangents. And I never understood the whys behind that until I was much older. So it wasn't until now that I can realize, having gotten in touch with this rock star in me, that I can look backwards and go, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I get that now. Why I did all these things.
But you were very much conditioned.
Pardon?
You were very much conditioned as a child.
Absolutely. And so while veering off into, rebellious activities got me into trouble, I also believe that it was actually my soul, trying to get my attention, or even redirecting me for my highest good in the long run.
Yeah.
Even though getting in trouble didn't feel like it was in my highest good.
Yeah, but it was the journey that got to where you are now today.
Yes, definitely.
And why do you particularly focus on women between 45 and 65?
I think simply because that's who I am. I can identify with it the most. For me, it makes sense to work with people that I can easily identify with.
They identify with you, obviously.
Well, sure. Yeah, I think that someone who can identify with me is going to be attracted to that, just like I was attracted to different mentors along the way because I identified with what they were saying. Also, I don't, twofold. I think women who are younger than 40 sort of already know what they're doing. I have so much admiration for millennials, you know, they're just like, they know who they are and they're going for it. And
Yeah.
they don't take shit from people. Um, and so I think that for anyone older than 40, she might not have that, um, that sense of knowing who she is like a younger woman, but also she's lived long enough to have met with the obstacles and failures that make her go, come on, there's got to be more than this.
Mm. So when did you discover your inner rock star, and how? And
Oh,
how?
well, it wasn't really until very recently. Um, and the how was actually, I was working with mentors, um, because I knew I was missing something, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And after quite some time of peeling back layers of my own, um, disbelief and baggage, just, you know, baggage, all the false beliefs that get lodged in our system, peeling back those enough to be able to start looking for who I truly am. And it took a mentor to mirror a lot of my behaviors and experiences to help me see, and also to teach me how to go inward and align with my self, my higher self. So all these series of learnings helped me to see this. And really what it looked like was finally one day thinking, oh my gosh, I've got this rock star in me. I think maybe that's what's been trying to come out all along. I think that's the real me. And that was very emotional for me. And then I went through a period of denying it. It's like, oh, that can't possibly be. That's way too big. That's crazy. Who am I to be that? So it's a process.
How do you express that inner rock star within? How do you express it?
Um, my languaging, my clothing, my experiences. For example, the experiences that I would have little forays into throughout the years looked like becoming a biker, getting a tattoo, collecting tattoos, becoming a tattoo artist, really identifying with classic rock and roll. I think that was a huge clue that took me forever to anchor into, that when I listen to classic rock, it really moves me. And it's, you know, it's when I feel alive. And so it took someone helping me see that when I feel alive is when I'm in touch with that.
It's what wakes up your soul.
Yeah.
And what about the four dads story, or the I like that. Four husbands and a dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see if I can condense that for you. So, again, forays. So a lot of the things I did through these decades was this, on one side, trying to honor my dad and my loyalty to him, and then doing something that would say, fuck you, Dad. Not consciously, but like dropping out of college, that was one of the first ones. And then getting married to men. The first one was someone who I thought would replace my dad in terms of providing me security. And then I realized I married him for the wrong reasons. So I got rid of him. And then I did a whole rebound thing. Wanted to live with somebody because it made economic sense. But my dad said, no, can't abide by that. I don't believe in it. So instead of just finding somebody else or accepting that, we went and eloped because then we could live together and not be out of integrity with my dad. Well, this guy was a drug addict, an alcoholic. I mean, it was like the antithesis of my father, and this big middle finger to say, well, you know, if we can't live together, then we're really going to screw things up. Mm. And then I did almost the same thing again when that one didn't pan out. And so it was just this series of getting married for the wrong reasons and waking up and going, well, I screwed that up. But in honoring myself, at least saying I deserve better for my life. So I'm not going to make myself miserable by staying in this, and moving on. And then by the time I married number 4, I had so much baggage, and number 4 was like a true love, and I was in it for life. And I had so much baggage that I screwed it up, and he divorced me. So
what did you learn from that? From number 4?
Well, he awakened me to myself. He was a biker. He's the first person I ever knew or was in relationship with that had a tattoo. And so through him, I learned a lot from him. I grew spiritually, not until after the fact. But he opened me to exploring my rebel side by
accepting it.
Partially. I didn't accept it fully, but I allowed myself to partake. I had my own bike. We went on long road trips, the whole tattoo thing. But probably it was in his divorcing me that I learned the most about myself. That was really the beginning of my self-discovery, because I was a mess. I went into therapy, and I fortunately had a wonderful therapist who really helped me start seeing things from a different angle.
Mm-hmm. And putting you back on track. And it's probably better to say, you know, not to have put 2 fingers up, but to kind of accept who you are.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. The longer we deny who we are, the more painful it gets. And the more we get slapped around. Our higher self is really trying to, you know, align us. And it's going to do so in whatever way you're willing to listen.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's slapping you around.
Well, the journey is not a straight line.
No, mine sure has not been.
No. But so how are you now, you know, relating your story of unleashing your inner rock star and helping others to unleash
How am I
theirs?
relating that? Well, I think just this, you know, we all have our stories. With these 4 husbands and a dad, I think how other women can relate to that is all the ways in which I betrayed myself. and finally came home to myself. That's really the whole basis of my learning and what I hope that I can help other women home to.
Right. So how are you, you know, the kind of people that you work with, what are the problems that you particularly focus on in terms of coaching?
Well, so I have this, I call it the DOPE process or DOPE method, which is discover, own it, party. Because
Nice.
what's a rock star without the party?
Exactly.
So there's discovery is, it has to start there. And that is twofold in terms of discovering that persona that a woman's not been able to align with. Maybe she has an inkling, but there's making sure that that's part of the discovery, as well as discovering what has been standing in the way of living that. And that's I don't know that it's necessarily the biggest piece, but probably the biggest piece, because we all have internalized baggage that if we didn't have it, we'd be living that. And so we need to discover what are the blocks that are in our way from becoming that persona, that person who we actually are. And then, like I mentioned before, realizing it, but then all this other stuff came up about that, you know, that can't possibly be me. That's too big for me. So then there's all the reasons that we deny it, which can also be part of our loyalty to our family paradigm, blah, blah, blah. So there's the discovering it, and then there's the learning how to own it. And celebrating.
Yeah, no, because I think everybody has a different story relating to their own success. And I think you know, we had so much pressure maybe as being brought up to be something that perhaps we didn't feel that was our story of success. So I think the main thing is to feel your story of success. What does success mean to you?
Right. Most definitely. Yeah. And it's funny how I think it's really interesting that someone who seems to have had every possible advantage in the world can still be so in her own way not to achieve what she desires to, versus someone who has perhaps had every disadvantage in the world has a different set of blocks, but in the end, they all still hold us back regardless of what they are or what they stemmed from.
And I think it's discovering your pain point, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then turning that pain point into something positive.
Right. And shifting the mind-body experience, because it's really, it is a mind-body experience. Our experiences feed our belief system, but those beliefs get literally lodged in our nervous system and cellular structure from a very early age, if not even in our inherited DNA. And so then those beliefs trigger our thoughts. And then we act on what we think are our thoughts. So there's this whole mind-body mechanism, and it's critical that we address what's actually going on in the body, because that's what's driving the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's part of the discovery and shifting it, unwinding.
And where does the spirit come in?
Well, we learn to listen to our higher self, our spirit, in this process. And when you have never really been connected, it's a bit of a learning curve to trust that when you tune into yourself and hear a voice, that you can discern it from your busy mind, that's or your inner critic, versus your higher self giving you signals, speaking to you.
Mm-hmm. Being authentic and being your true self.
Yeah. There's a bit of a learning curve to that. There was for me.
Yes, but you're discovering that with your clients too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty common. We hear this voice that says you're not good enough, and so that really is what drives our behavior. So we need to learn to discern between that voice and the voice of our higher self. Does it make sense that our higher self, our spiritual self, is going to tell us we're not good enough?
No.
Heck no.
So it's learning to love yourself.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's how you're empowering women. Yes.
It really does come down to that. That is the crux of it, because we cannot do for anyone else the world if we are not taking care of ourselves first. It's just impossible. You cannot give from an empty well.
And I think women have been, sort of for long, they've sort of been pushed aside. So,
right. Well, we are carrying so much on our shoulders as mothers and nest keepers and breadwinners and so on, that it's so easy to lose sight of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the program that you offer to women.
So I call it the Unleash Your Inner Rockstar program, and it's 90 days, 12 one-on-one private coaching sessions together, where we discover the deepest desires in your soul and discover what's standing in the way from actualizing those desires. And that looks a lot like self-worth. What is taking the temperature of someone's self-worth and self-love and shifting those, and then taking a look at how good are you willing to let life get. And that's a whole nother set of blocks and beliefs. So, working with those and shifting those, and then working to give a woman permission to live it, to celebrate herself, and to unleash herself in the world.
Do you put them on stage?
No, not yet. Not in 90 days.
You prepare them?
Yes. Yes, because it's, no one's going to get on stage until the inner work's been done. And so that may be a part of it down the line. But in 90 days, it's more of the idea of getting on stage. And that may not even be the next person's deepest desire. That happens to be my desire, to rock a large stage. But
is that where you see yourself in 10 years?
Yes, I do. That is my dream, to really be rocking a large stage, inspiring the pants off of women to go for it themselves, because the world is waiting for what they have to give.
And time is of the essence.
Definitely, especially now. Good Lord, we need people doing what they came here for.
Exactly. And actually during these times, do you think there's been a rise of coaching? I mean, you were telling me earlier about in America.
Well, certainly I've seen a surge in the last even 2 months of colleagues having their best months ever. So I think that all that's been going on, the whole lockdown has given many people the opportunity to really tune into themselves.
Yeah, with no distractions.
And find out what's deeply important to them. And I think that has also provided a sense of urgency.
Yeah, exactly. It's do or die.
Yeah. And it's, especially for women over 50, there's a significant sense of, hey, I better get on this. The clock's ticking here.
Yeah. So what are your clients? What's that?
I know I feel that way.
Yeah. What do your clients say about, when you've worked with them? What do they feel?
They feel a sense of peace, a sense of alignment, of belief in themselves, and a much deeper appreciation for themselves. That inner critic voice is so loud and such a bully, and we have grown so accustomed to listening to it and believing it, that once you quiet that voice and listen to the other voice that is belief in yourself and self-love for everything that you are, it is in and of itself, it feels like love.
So it's connecting with the, what's inside.
Yeah. And it feels so good, so resonant.
So you're living your best life now.
I am.
Great.
Yeah.
So Nancy, if people want to find out more about your 90-day program, how do they get in touch?
They can visit my website, which is nancybannercoaching.com. And there's a page there that talks about the program itself. If they have an inkling that they'd really like to find out more, the best thing they can do is audition with me, which is a free discovery conversation. They can find that on my website or on my Instagram profile. And that's that's a no obligation conversation where we go deep to discover what it is that a woman wants, and, you know, are we a right fit for each other to work
Yeah,
together?
that's very important.
And barring that, if people just go to my Instagram feed, I feel like I'm providing a lot of inspiration there. So if somebody just needs a real dose of inspiration about all of these things, living your best life and who you're truly meant to be and so on, that's a great resource too.
Wonderful. Well, Unleashing Your Inner Rock Star by Nancy Banner. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Katrina.
we look forward to seeing more from you on stage and inspiring women
Thank you.
to live their best life.